the basement, ripping out this little baby piece of concrete that's sticking out. Then we're gonna be cutting the concrete. We're gonna be tearing down to the footing. We're gonna be ripping that out, getting everything prepared to be poured brand new concrete all the way on the center wall. Welcome to the DIY restoration of my $7,000 mansion. We want to get this old block wall out and get the concrete beside it chunked up so that way we can get down to the footer below and replace that footer. While we're at it, we just want to make a mess one time. So we're also going to be removing from the edge of this door frame all the way over to the corner of the house. Then we're also going to be removing a little spot right here because this is going to be getting the exact same treatment. Carrying these blocks up is the most tiring part of this whole process. So while we're the most fresh here this morning, we are gonna get the rest of these blocks knocked out over here, and then we'll have everything torn down over here, looking just like this. Then we'll take our demolition saw, we'll cut some slits in the concrete, and then we'll start ripping all of this out.
Straight into my truck for chicken shed. How are you feeling after yesterday?
A little sore. These blocks are nothing to mess with either. One of them is just shy of 60 pounds.
Well, some of them are more because this one hardly has any mortar, and some of them are completely covered in mortar, so they would be close to 70 pounds. Before we got started today cutting in our flooring, we wanted to make a passage a little bit easier here for the steps, and we just knocked that little single block, little wall. Hopefully that will help Justin and me and Cole.
Never mind, I thought we were going to be tearing out this whole wall right here while we're fresh and nice and strong to carry these big heavy blocks. We were just opening the doorway wider. We'll get to this later. We're going to try to cut up the floor with the demo saw first. Looks good.
This side's good. Any chalk line that's greater than gear ratio 3:1, it will be a nightmare for you. This one is 6:1 and always gets stuck and nightmare.
Maybe you need to get stronger.
Then I would break the chalk line. I thought you were keen here. What would you rather have, that?
Justin did a good job keeping the dust down with the water hose. Got our line cut. We have a bunch of fumes in here though from the demo saw. Look at that. You can see them rolling up the stairs and out the door. Demo saw is burning pretty rich on its fuel mixture, so basement's pretty fumed up. We're gonna give it a few minutes to air out a little bit before we go in there and start breaking stuff up with the jackhammer and the sledgehammers. Running the demo saw, Roman must have got a little boo-boo on his finger. So now we are on the search for Band-Aids. Honestly, couldn't tell you the last time I used a Band-Aid. If I were Roman, which one would I want? A shear strip or a flexible fabric? Princess Roman!
Thank you.
Now that we got a little bit of the floor broken up, we can kind of see what we're working with. Over here, it's pretty interesting. We have like 1.5 inches of concrete, but then it's hard over here, but this is not concrete. It's almost like it was a limestone or something, and then they poured this concrete over the top of it, and then that has caused this to settle over the years and pack. So it feels like concrete, but you can break it up if you really try to play with it a little bit. So not fully certain what that is, but we're guessing that they came and re-poured another layer over the floor years ago to hide this. And we think that because over here is where the chimney used to be, and all the boiler connections were right up here, and there is brick underneath the concrete, almost like they had a brick mat sitting right here that the boiler was sitting on top of, and then they would have came and poured concrete over the top of it. If you look inside, you can see some different types of materials, like there's some different bits of rock. And then we have also found some pieces of coal. I don't know if I can find any right here, but the only reason why there would be coal underneath this was if they poured concrete right over the top. You can see some of the bricks from that mat that we think was here, right underneath the concrete floor. And there we go, there's a piece of wood right there. So what would that be doing underneath the concrete? So it's kind of interesting, but yeah, this floor, not thick at all. The can of worms has officially been opened. The center blocking used to be the center foundation of the house, so all of the floor joists would butt together right here in the middle, so this big beam had the block wall underneath of it, and that's what held up the center of the house. It's kind of interesting looking at this particular block wall. Roman has already dug down a little bit into the clay below, and there is absolutely no footing whatsoever underneath of these blocks. They literally set these blocks on top of that clay. And then as we work our way down to this end, we did a little bit of pulling back. We thought at first that it was just clay because it was smooth, just like this. But we dug back a little bit with the bars. They have limestone rocks sitting underneath of here, and that is the footer underneath of this block wall. So I'm assuming that wall has the same thing, and I'm also assuming all these exterior walls have the exact same thing. It is just limestone rocks underneath to spread out the load. So that is the footer. So we need to get all of this dirt out. We need to get all of those rocks out. We need to get all this broken concrete out through here, all the way over to that little wall to there, the rest of the way of the basement. And then we're gonna dig this down like 10 inches. So that way we can pour a brand new footer. This job is an incredible amount of work. It's pretty fun tearing stuff apart in the basement, especially when you're running the jackhammer. Yes, running the jackhammer does get old after a while, but it's really satisfying watching all the concrete get tore up. The hardest part about this job is coming up and down the stairs with everything. Every bucket you have is anywhere from 40 to 70 pounds, depending on how heavy it's filled. And then all the steps up and down, dumping, climbing up in the back of the dump truck to dump them. That is the most tiring part of this whole job. But good news is, once we get it done, we won't have to do it again. So we're just putting our head down and getting to it. Every bucket we carry up seems like it's getting heavier and heavier. So we're gonna try to make this a little bit easier and put the skid loader with the bucket right outside the door. So that way we just don't have to carry them as far. Then we also don't have to lift them up into anything. There we go. It's gonna be a lot better to dump into that and dump this into that than to just climb up there and dump into there. But we've already done all that, climbing up our little stair system. Starting to get to the point now where every single load I go up with a set of buckets, I sit and mentally prepare myself for a few seconds before I pick them up. I psych myself up a little bit to want to get going up the stairs. Each bucket weighs 50 pounds. So we got 100 pounds going up and down the stairs. It's probably about 20 yards up there. And then you come back. Coming back's easy. But going up there, it's definitely a bit of a workout by the time you've done it 50 times. We got a little bit left. I'd say probably about an hour of going up and down the stairs. And then we should be done at least picking up the big chunks of concrete from the part that we cut out today.
Whoa, it's after 3 o'clock, feet are getting heavy.
Justin and I just tore out this end bit of wall. We made some interesting discoveries. There is no limestone blocking underneath this whatsoever. This is literally just clay, just right on top of clay. You can see that big old hole right there, right under the wall. I don't know if that was a mouse hole, or maybe they stuck a 2x4 in there years ago, or that's probably more like a 1x. But yeah, no footing here whatsoever. Just blocked, sitting on the clay. The footing underneath of this wall doesn't make any sense, or the footing we thought was underneath this wall. Roman's dug down about 8 inches right here. We got nothing. It's just clay. So that wall is sitting on top of clay. Then we get right here where we have the old doorway. Actually, the doorway was right here. Beside it, where our furnace was, we just have some random blocks. I don't know, concrete, limestone, I don't even know what it is. But then you go over here. And it's back to clay. It's weird. But good thing we're tearing this out so that way we can put an actual footing in here, build a little wall, and then the center of the house will be sitting on a strong foundation. This big chunk of footer that was sitting right here took Justin and Roman like 30 minutes to get tore up, and they had to dig all around it and then hit it with a jackhammer. We think there may be a better way to do it. We have more footers down here, or the pieces that they did have in place. So we're gonna take the demo saw and try to notch into them a little bit, see if we can make a free weekend cracks. We got this one here, we got this one here, and then we got the one over there.
And we're out of gas.
No need to worry, Roman. I will do this long enough and the water will slowly erode the concrete and limestone away, and then we will have a suitable working environment. I just might be here all night. I can pretty confidently say that This basement floor tear out is the most not fun job we have done on the house, or anything that I've done on the property since I've moved here 5 years ago that I can think of, to be completely honest. It used to be cleaning out the attic. That had like this much bird material and everything else that had lived up there for who knows how long. And I cleaned that out when it was like 90 degrees out with no moving air up there. But this trumps that. These bits of concrete are supremely heavy. A singular bucket weighs 50 pounds and you carry 2 buckets up at a time. So 100-pound buckets, or 100 pounds in your hands going up and down the stairs. It's just a wear on the body. You fill the bucket and you look at the pile that you just picked up and you're like, wow, I hardly even took an area like this big out of it. And I have half of the room still to go. So you definitely cannot look at it as a whole pile just disappearing at once. You truly have to look at it as we are eating the elephant one bite at a time. Otherwise, this project would be really, really not fun. But if you get in a good rhythm and just put your head down and you just keep picking stuff up, putting it in the bucket and carrying it up, it's been getting done. And here we are. We're probably 15% done tearing out the floor in the basement. The spot we have out is probably 8 feet wide, and it's 30 feet from this wall all the way over to the other end. So, I mean, we got some decent square footage out, but we have all that over there to go, which is maybe not quite double of what we just took out over here. And then we have all this to go over here, which is definitely double of what we just took out. But I'm hoping that we have a lot of areas where the concrete's this thick. For whatever reason, like some spots, big overhang, nice thin concrete, easy to break up, easy to get out. But then you get into areas like this, where you get 3-4 inches thick. These areas are much, much slower to take out. And when we get the concrete out, we almost have another layer of concrete on this clay. I don't know if whatever is in the concrete and the moisture in the ground was reacting with the clay and turning it into concrete over time as it was being compacted, or if it was just drying out and literally turning into hard clay. But the top like inch of this literally feels like concrete. If you take the hammer, you can break it up, and then once you break through the top little bit, then it works just fine. But like this, it's just hard. Once you're through that, then you can dig through with the shovel, and it's like a clay, sandy kind of material. Which, with that clay being so hard, that's a good thing, because that block wall that used to be here was built right on top of that with no footer underneath of it. So that clay was what was holding the weight of the house. So we don't want that clay to settle, which it must have, because that's why we ripped out this wall in the first place, because that big beam up there had settlement in it, even though the block wall was built all the way from the ground up touching it. At least in about 70% of the beam it was touching it, but in the other 30% there's definitely some spots that settled down. It's always interesting looking at construction methods from 100 years ago like this. We're digging it up so we can see what they did, but they have like a 2x2 pad here. They have basically a 2x2 pad there underneath the post, and then they actually have a nice piece of concrete that this post is sitting on. So basically, all of the center load of the house from these big beams that come in is transferred right down into that. And then they would have had another one sitting right over here. So it kind of makes me wonder if when they built their block walls, if they just figured, okay, well, we can put a pad here, we can put one in the middle, maybe we have a little bit extra concrete off the edge of the chimney, and then we put another pad in over here. Since it's a block wall, just like this, and everything is tied together, maybe they figured, well, if we have a footing there, we probably don't need anything there in the middle as long as we have one over there, because the blocks will all hold together. They didn't have a building code back then, so that is very possible that they did that. Taking a look over at this wall that does bear all of our beams that hold up the center of the floors upstairs, we do appear to have concrete underneath of it. So the wall we took out right here did not have this, so that's a good sign. I have no idea how far that goes through there. It does seem like the areas where they knew there was going to be some load, like underneath of this beam. They at least put a foot under that. So I would like to believe, seeing the concrete underneath there, that that wall also has some sort of footing system beneath of it. Looking at the condition of the blocks, I do not see any cracking. All of the mortar and everything appears to be in perfect condition. So I would pretty confidently say that that wall has not settled. And then when it comes to all the exterior foundation walls of the house, we don't know if they have a footing underneath. You would almost assume it would have had to have back then, but then again, we thought the same thing about the wall. Good news is, the house has been here for over 100 years and we have no cracking or anything in these walls. We're not seeing any evidence of any settling, which that's a good thing. And then also, the house used to be way, 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 way heavier. Like, we took almost 50,000 pounds of material out of the house with all the plaster, all the mortar, all the old penny tiles and stuff that they had on the floors, all the old radiators. So if we had that much weight in the house for over 100 years and we don't have any issues with the foundation, with everything that we're going to be putting back in, it's going to be like a third of the weight. So if it survived the super heavy, we should be good with what we're going to be putting in. So our next steps are, we need to get this area all cleaned up. We need to get that last little bit of concrete out. We need to get that concrete chunked out, and we need to get that concrete chunked out, because we want everything to look pretty much just like this and right there over at the base of that wall, because that is going to be our spread footing. We're gonna pour concrete inside of that little basin right there. Basically, it's gonna be just like this. It's just gonna look a whole lot prettier. So we're gonna have a nice wide area of concrete that's gonna distribute out our load. So our pounds per square inch of weight coming down gets distributed all through that whole block, or that whole width and that whole length. And then we are going to build another little concrete wall on top of that, where our actual wall will sit on. So almost just like this. It'll just be cleaner on the bottom, and this wall will probably come up to about there. Now, to make sure we're 100% ready to go for tomorrow, we're gonna take care of a couple little runaround things here tonight, so that way, once we're ready to start working, we can just go. So first thing up, the dump truck is full. Hold on a second. What do we have deer down here at Mom and Dad's house for? What are you guys doing? Next thing we need is a little bit of gasoline for the demo saw. And since that demo saw is 2-stroke, we are going to need to mix some gas. Now we gotta go get some jet fuel. She full. Demo saw is gonna run better than it's ever ran. Look how lazy this is on the back of these trucks. You press a button, it closes. Now I just need the one where you press it and it shuts it. Okay, we should have everything all prepared and ready to go for in the morning, but I'm tired, I'm hungry, I'm headed inside and going to bed. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.